And hello everyone for this new session dedicated for this symposium to the actually sleep and circadian rhythms in esports. This symposium will be actually addressed by a lot of experts regarding this topic. We will be with actually Bernadette Ramaker, Tristan Martin, and Sylvain Laborde, who will join us a little bit later. So to introduce them a little bit more, so Bernadette, if you don't know Bernadette, you should know Bernadette actually, because she's an applied practitioner in sports psychology and specialist in applied sports psychology. And actually, she's currently working as the performance coach for the Rogue's Rainbow Six team, so at Rogue Esports. And Rogue is competing in both the European League and the German League, so at the international and at the local level. And she started working as an applied practitioner in 2016. So now it's a lot of time right now, and gained most of her applied experience working in traditional sports, but as now and almost fully transitioned into the field of esports. So welcome, Bernadette. And just to let all the viewers know, your own sports background is in speed skating, which is, I think, really fantastic. So welcome, Bernadette.
Thank you so much, Nicolas, for your introduction. And yeah, I think it's a fun fact about me. Like a lot of Dutch people, speed skater at heart.
Yeah, Dutch people are really good at speed skating, of course. And so Tristan Martin, just so to let you know also for all the viewers, I met Tristan like, I don't know, like 10 years ago. We used to be
something like that.
Something like that. We used to work in holidays camp together, and so it's fun to actually meet again now in sports sciences field. So Tristan is an assistant professor at the Faculty of Kinesiology and Sports Sciences of Le Mans, which is in Normandy in France.
No, not in Normandy.
No. Oh man.
In Sarthe.
Oh,
I used to be in Normandy.
Okay, the citizen of Le Mans will be very upset against me. I'm really sorry for that. Sorry. So Tristan's work focuses on the biological rhythms, sleep, and improvement of the quality of life using exercise intervention in various populations. So his PhD work was in the field of the chronobiology, and more specifically now focuses on the characterization of markers of the chronobiology. So it means circadian variation of the activity, rest, activity rhythm, the temperature, sleep, hormonal concentration, sleep recording, and also on the improvement of the chronobiology, through remediation protocols and their impact on health. Tristan is really interested in esports since actually it's not that long, to be honest, and it's growing, and especially regarding the impact of gaming on biological and chronobiological disorders like blue light exposure, sleep habits, health, and performance in esports athletes. So welcome, Tristan.
Thank you.
I'm really pleased to have you for this symposium. And as I said, so we will be joined a little bit later by Sylvain. So Sylvain Laborde, who is actually a lecturer at the Department of Performance Psychology of the Institute of Psychology of the German Sports University in Cologne, Germany since 2014. And his research focuses on the psychophysiological factors influencing self-regulation and performance, and in particular with heart rate variability and emotional intelligence. And specifically, he develops techniques to optimize the functioning of the autonomic nervous system, such as slow-paced breathing. And with his colleague Ismael Pedraza, who was our keynote speaker, the opening keynote speaker, Marcus Raab and Lisa Musculus, he was part of the seminal team setting the stage for the esports psychology. So as you can hear, we have a lot of experts right now for this symposium, which is, I think, really amazing. So the theme of this symposium is circadian rhythms. So mostly chronobiological rhythms and also sleep. And as these are very, I think, vague concept for most of the people, I think that Tristan, you have a small presentation to start with your slides, just to explain us the main concept of these different terms that are the chronobiology and the circadian rhythms. That's right?
Yeah, exactly. Stefan just told me that I had some maybe mic issues.
Okay.
And I can't see why. I can try to change my headset. Oh, it's okay?
No, it's okay. Actually,
it's okay. All right. I'm sorry for that. All right. So I'm not sure if you can see the slide yet or not.
It's okay.
Share my slide.
So the slide will appear, I think. So right now you are full screen, and if we can have the slides for the viewers, I think in a few minutes. Yeah, that's
yes.
Okay.
Right. All right. Thank you, everyone. So yeah, we have the pleasure to introduce this symposium entitled Sleep and Circadian Rhythmicity, Interest and Application in the Field of Esports. What I would resume by go to sleep, you're powered up, getting there. Interest in esports is quite really recent because okay, I have already been, I always liked video games like many people nowadays. And in fact, I was watching a streamer. His name is Spirit. He was a former Overwatch, like a competitive Overwatch player and streamer at the top 500 level. And I was watching his stream. And one day he said to his chat, I have terrible sleep and I have to take melatonin at night to sleep. And I was like, what? This guy is 19, 20 years old, and he have to take powerful chronobiotics to sleep. And I was like, is there some research in this field about sleep and sleep hygiene in athletes, sleep? And that's why I wanted maybe to try to focus one part of my work in esports. But to start now, I just want to start with like, what's sleep? What is the circadian rhythms? Because in fact, even after decades of research, the exact reason why we sleep remains one of the most intriguing mysteries in health science. In fact, right now, experts try to analyze how sleep works and what happens when we don't get enough sleeps. Usually, when we want to, define sleep, we can think about, there is many stages in sleep. There is the light sleep when some process occurs, and there is the deep sleep when there is most of the recovery processes in our body who take place. There is the REM sleep, the rapid eye movement, where we dream and so on and so on. But in fact, sleep is not as straightforward as that, because yes, it's pretty straightforward that you sleep when you're tired and wake when you're rested. But in fact, these mechanisms behind it are really complex, and we can't really consider and study the sleep if we don't consider the wake with it. Because in fact, sleep is just one state that all animals have developed to adapt to the Earth rotation. And most animals have evolved alternating between wake state and sleep state, especially in mammals. And in fact, these wake states and sleep states in mammals, like Tildenberg said in 2005 in his review, in synchrony with the fall and rise of the sun, animals sleep and rest, plant open and close the blossom, and so on and so on. So sleep, like rest, is a rhythmic behavior. And the main word to describe this behavior is circadian. Circadian comes from the Latin, which circadian, which means around a day. So in fact, circadian rhythms work by helping to make sure that the body's processes are optimized at various points during a 24-hour period. There exist in all of the organisms, for example, like I said, the flowers can open and close. We go to sleep at a certain time of day. We wake at a certain time of day, and so on. So circadian rhythms throughout the body are connected to a clock, a master clock, what we can call a biological clock, which help us to stay on 24-hour period, just like the Earth rotation duration. But if we were only dependent on that, in fact, or if we were just only dependent on our central biological clock, we will drift. Day by day, we should go to bed later each day and drift from the environment. That's why our biological clock needs to be in tune, like resetted each day to allow our body to wake at a good time in the morning and go to sleep at the right time in the evening. This is really important. So our biological clock is really sensitive to various time cues, like the light-dark cycle, which is the main time cues for our biological clock, and other time cues like physical exercise, which can help to synchronize our biological clock on 24 hours. Basically, day-night alternance is the main time cue for our biological clock, and it will affect most living things, human including, of course. And our master clock is directly, so as I said, like, influenced by the daylight alternance, because our eyes, which receive the light inputs, is directly connected to our central pacemaker, to the biological clock right here in the hypothalamus, which is 20,000 groups of neurons, which send a rhythmic output to the brain, like in the hypothalamus, which create what we call the circadian rhythms in all our biological functions and cognitive capacities, for example. And our circadian rhythms is, in fact, a daily alternance between low states, low level and high level, which repeats each day. This is some illustrations taken from an article from Boivin and Boudreau. Here you have the core body temperature. As you can see, the core body temperature is quite high during the day and starts to fall at the approach of the sleep period. It helps us to sleep and starts to rise in the morning to help us to be in the wake stage. At the same time, like cortisol, which is glucocorticoids, starts to rise in the second part of the nighttime to have a peak at the in the morning, because it helps us to wake up. And melatonin, I'm pretty sure you all already heard about what is melatonin, which is the hormone help us to sleep, which helps us to sleep, sorry. And it's quite high during the night and quite low during the day. So this is some example of circadian rhythms. All these functions go up and down each day repeatedly. And to properly sleep, we need the circadian rhythm to be properly aligned between them. If one of them or several of them starts to be unsynchronized, it can create some sleeping problems like insomnia. But this is only one part of the system. Because if we were only dependent of our circadian rhythms process, in fact, we were slaved to it. Like we would not be able to resist at the moment where, like temperature is falling down, melatonin is going up. We wouldn't be able to resist and going to sleep. But as you may know, we can spend an entire hour to play video games, to do whatever you want. We can resist the sleep, because the other process which drive sleep and wake cycle is what we call the sleep-wake homeostasis, which is this thing here, the S process. It means that the longer you are awake, the greater your body senses the need to sleep. And at a certain time, when you have accumulated enough need to sleep, at the moment where the circadian rhythms allows you to sleep, these two phenomena together open the gate of sleep and allows you to properly go to sleep, so to properly enter into sleep, to have a fast sleep onset latency, and so on. And when you sleep, you decrease your depth, your sleep depth, your need to sleep. That's what I wanted to say for the moment about the theory about chronobiology, and how can we measure circadian rhythm in sleep in esports athletes, for example. We can use some measurement that we already have used in traditional sports player, in general population, in patients population, for example. One of them, which is quite used, but also quite expensive, unfortunately. So all the structure cannot, have that kind of apparel. This is to use an actigraph. An actigraph is a kind of wristwatch, like this, which can measure our daily activity each minute or each 30 seconds on several days or several weeks, and we can measure like the sleep quality and sleep quantity and the quality of the rest activities at circadian rhythms. So what we have from this kind of watch here is that kind of result. So what you can see here, this is the wake period, and in pink, this is the sleep period of the person. And in each day, we can measure like the total sleep time, the efficiency of the sleep, when they wake up during the night, and so on and so on. So we can have an objective measurement of the sleep of the athletes, for example. And this is not really like hard to perform because it's just a watch. It works by itself. Like the people just have to wear it for days, and at the end you perform the analysis. You don't need to, to be connected to a computer, to an application or something like that. In most of the model, I know that the Fitbit watch started to be validated by scientists because it's quite accessible, and their results started to be validated. If you can't use that kind of technology, you also can, with athlete, use a sleep diary. One of them, which is quite validated by Carnet et al. In 2012, is the consensus sleep diary. This is 9 items to fulfill each day. There is 4 of them here, So you put the date here, and you can monitor you can follow the sleep and wake habits and the quality of sleep of each athlete day by day, and make a kind of at the end, to talk about with the athlete, to do a kind of feedback or something like that, which is really, really useful. Have there been polysomnography measurement in esports player? I'm not sure for the moment because it's really, really hard to perform, but I know that there is some study who tried to do some actigraphy measurement for the moment. Another thing you can use, which is really, really used right now in traditional sports player, it's to consider the chronotype of the athletes. The chronotype is the phase preference, of each people. So we can, as I put on the slides here, the circadian phase preference referring to the preference of an individual in the timing for activities. In fact, if I want to resume it, simply resume it, there are people who are morning type or evening type or in between. This is, it depends on the people, you know, and if you measure like biological rhythms, you can see that there is some drift, like with the circadian rhythms of temperature being later in evening people than in morning people. So this preference is not just like a social preference. It also affects people's physiology. And most of the questionnaire who are used, I put them here like the MEQ, the MCQ, or the CCQ here, are compared to biological. I'm pretty sure for this one, I'm not sure for the last one, but they have been correlated to biological variables. And if you just want to track, if you just want, you know, to record sleep quality, so sleep quality, how I would define it, it's, you know, because sleep quality is at first the subjective perception of how the sleep was, I mean, good for you. You have recovered well. You know, this is the feeling that you think you have had a good night of sleep. And after, we can have objective measurement of the sleep quality, like, you know, the efficiency, like the percentage you sleep regarding the total time you spent in bed. So actually, this questionnaire, the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, can calculate it for you, you know, because this questionnaire, which is really, really used in sports player, and one or two of the studies I mentioned about esports player used this questionnaire, the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index. You can calculate the percentage, you know, the efficiency of the sleep, and usually below 85%, we consider that this is not a good marker of sleep quality, for example. And if you have a global score of above 5, this is also not a good marker of sleep quality. I forgot to put the name of the questionnaire here, the ISI, which means the Insomnia Severity Index. I'm sorry for that. So Insomnia Severity Index, like the PSQI, can help you, you know, to determine if there is insomnia symptoms in people. So it's really used in sports athletes, in population, control population, patients con population, and it could be useful in esports player to see if their sleep complaints relates to insomnia or maybe something else. I just saw a question like, how do you find out which chronotype you are? In fact, the scores to the questionnaire I mentioned just before. So you have a score, and this score, I would say, tells you if you are evening or morning. And in fact, these scores have been correlated with objective markers like melatonin or temperature. So in fact, and yeah, as Trades 1123 said, you can just have an idea. You know, the chronotype is a really useful tool, like easy tool to use. But if you can go to a lab and make some chronobiological measurements, it will be more precise. But this is really, really difficult to put in place in the field, I guess. Sylvain, just in time.
Hey, Tristan, I said 5:30. I'm even 3 minutes earlier.
Hi, Sylvain.
Hi,
Okay, so Sylvain, you just joined us. Tristan, is it? Do you want to carry on with your presentation, because there already a lot of questions in the chat, and I have a lot of questions, to be honest. So do you want to carry on and to continue to share your screen, or do we?
I don't know. I don't know. I have like, you know, I can keep them for later. You know, like
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I propose is that maybe I have some question to ask to all of you. And so Sylvain, just to let you know, I introduced you at the beginning, so people know you now.
Thank you, Nicolas.
My pleasure. So now that the concepts are set up and you explained you were brilliant to explain what is the difference between circadian rhythms and actually all the sleep rhythmicity and stuff like that. So it was really, really perfect to introduce the actually this symposium. I just want to ask Bernadette, actually, as I mentioned, you are working now with ROG, the Rainbow Six team with ROG, and just to introduce exactly what you are doing, can you tell us a little bit more about what are your main mission with the team? Actually, what are you trying to do with this team?
Wow, the main mission, that is a really big question, I think, to try to answer. But as the performance coach, I try to facilitate their development to become the best players that they can be, and also perform at the moments that are the most important to them. Individually, but most important, of course, as it is a team game, perform as a team. And when it comes to sleep, to bring back the topic of sleep in it, I would love for our players and coaching staff, of course, as well, for them to have a consistent and uninterrupted sleep, with, of course, the goal to wake up rested and be ready for the day and be ready to perform the best they can.
Okay. With what actually Tristan has shown us at the beginning, at your knowledge, for what you have seen, and since the time that you are working with these athletes right now, these esports athletes, can we say that there is a chronotype for the esports athletes? Are there more for for the morning, or maybe I think more during the night? So what is the chronotype for the Rainbow Six team that actually you are following?
Yeah, I think this is a beautiful question. I think sleep is always a topic. It's something that comes up daily, and it also shows that it's a daily challenge to have like a healthy sleep schedule, a healthy sleep rhythm. But what I can tell from experience also, like putting the boys, of course, there are individual differences, but looking across the board, I think we see that the day rhythm is a bit twisted. So they start the day much later than, let's say, the average person who has an office job, but also go to bed much later. So of course there are big extremes, but if I have to put them in a chronotype, definitely the night owl would be the one to look at for sure.
Which this confirms what the few studies in the field have shown. In Korean esports player, that most of the athletes are evening chronotypes and have delayed sleep times and wake times. So that's really interesting to see that science match with the field.
The science matches the real world. Yeah, I think also it is a really difficult question, because it's really hard to change a habit like this, and this is just kind of how they have done things, and also their day has been scheduled in a way that it fits that type of lifestyle. So we would never have our scrim practices start at 10 o'clock in the morning if we have the choice. So we start our practice usually around 2 or 3, and then of course they adapt their waking up times according to that.
That's really cool, actually, because it was one of my question. I was wondering, I'm not sure about all the times of the daily times of training for these esports athletes, but what maybe a lot of people have in mind is the fact that, as you said, most of the trainings and the scrims, so the scrims for people who don't know, is some sparring partners. So you are training especially against very strong teams that are mostly not in your regional area, just because, or not in your championship, but at the same level. And how do you prepare if you train and if you do scrims, for example, at, I don't know, 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. or maybe 8 p.m.? How do you prepare if there is a competition, and the tournament will start at, I don't know, 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. in the morning? So do you ask your players to maybe the week before to change the way they train, the time of their trainings, or do you try to make some scrims in the morning because you know that during the competition they will start earlier? How it works?
Yeah, this is the struggle, I think, when it comes to scheduling of competitions, because we have absolutely zero control over this. This also goes the other way when we have competitions very, very late in the evening. Rainbow Six is very known for having late games. Sometimes we start at 11 p.m. When we are last game, and all the other games have been very long as well. We start maybe at 12 o'clock, so at midnight. And then you have to make a peak performance. Of course, that is really hard. But when we're talking about changing schedules, it always I try to help my players look for gradual changes. So don't change from one day to the other, where you have a shift of a couple of hours. We all know how it is when you go on vacation, for example, and you have to suddenly wake up 4 hours earlier than you usually do. It breaks you up. You feel kind of like you're hangover or something. You have like a mini jet lag. So always about gradual changes, and when we know this in advance, we can adapt accordingly. So day by day, a little bit earlier or a little bit later. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a mess, for what I understand, to be actually to schedule all the trainings regarding the competition. I'm not very aware of Rainbow Six, but is there a lot of competition, a lot of tournaments like on CSGO? Or we know on CSGO that all the tournaments are overlapping the one on each other. Is it the same on Rainbow Six, or Ubisoft is doing a great job to structure the competitive circuits and help you to not, over exhaust the player?
Yeah, I think until now, my experience is actually quite positive.
Okay.
Of course, we have the struggle where games go, there are just many rounds. It's a long game, so therefore the schedule gets dragged out a little bit, and therefore the game started a bit later than we originally thought so. But in terms of competitions, I think they are not overlapping at the moment. So when we're talking about, for example, that Rogue is playing in the European League and also in the German League, those game days are not scheduled on the same day. So they're on different days in the week, so we can adapt and have actually a good preparation for both of competitions.
Okay. Sylvain, I have a question, because I'm following you on Twitter, and I know that actually you have met Rogue, the players, and of course I know that you are quite famous with your studies in the sports sciences field, of course. And when you first met these players, these esports athletes, and regarding all your knowledge about sports athletes and sports sciences, what was your first thought about these players, this new kind of athletes, and especially regarding the chronobiology? And what did you say to yourself when you actually saw how they were organized and structured? You're muted, Sylvain.
Thank you, Nicolas, for this question. Actually, the first encounter was quite stereotypical. So I think I had my stereotypes and they had their stereotypes about me. So I'm not going to show that now, but for example, they focused on my legs because I was a former cyclist and I got, to put it like this, big legs. And it was summer and then they could see my legs and say, oh, did you get legs like this? Yeah, so doing some cycling. And then what I noticed as well, so At the beginning, when I started to talk about the method that they could be doing, I have to say they were kind of skeptical, really skeptical. But then we started to do them. And then what I recognized directly, and perhaps they were not typical athletes like I would know them from on the typical field, but I noticed that the desire for competition, because then we turn the activities into little competition between them. For example, we had breathing exercises. Who was going to breathe the less cycles per minute? And at the beginning, they said, yeah, it's impossible. But then they got into it, and then they really started to challenge themselves. And basically, we reached our goal to do the activities even better than I expected due to this attraction to challenge. And this is how I recognize the parallel between those elite athletes, because they are elite in their disciplines. They really want to be challenged and then to challenge each other on the little activities that I was offering them, basically. And you're muted now, Nicolas.
Good point. So first experience was actually a first meeting, a first date, if I can say it like that. So you try to show the best of all of you, the best for you as a researcher, but also for the players, the best of what they can do, which is quite interesting, I think. Tristan, I have a question, because there are some people that are asking, and I think that you were starting to explaining it, but how do you define or determine your own chronotype?
Oh, yeah. I try to answer that questions quickly, and I want to thanks the people in the chat, like Atreats1123, because he's giving very interesting response. So I will ask, like, Atreats, are you a student or professional working in chronobiology in a lab? That's my question. And yeah, in fact, the chronotypes that you determine from the questionnaires. So this is a score. You know, there is. I just show like 3 examples of questionnaires, and they give you a score. And this score is basically correlated to biological rhythms like melatonin and our temperature. And in fact, this score matches with, you know, someone being more evening time or morning time according to the characteristic of these circadian rhythms. Like someone said in the chat, like traits, you know, the chronotypes so can determine, you know, the moment where our functions like reaction time, memories are at their best. You know, evening time tended to have best performance later, morning time earlier, and so they're kind of, you know, shifted between morning between them, like morning or evening time. And I saw another question in the chat which was really interesting, like should we fit around players' chronotypes, or should player be trained into training schedule? This is really hard question to answer, because some work right now conducted mainly by Michele Lastella, who sorry for that, who sorry for that. So who is studying the importance of the chronotype in athletes, like, and it shows that, yeah, if, how it says that certain athletes have certain chronotypes, like people like doing longer races, like long time races, endurance races, seems to be more morning type. And there is other sports like I would say esports, where people are more evening types. So what do we do? Should we train at the moment where people are more, I would say, at their best, you know, but more in the morning or more in the evening? Or should we train to the time of the competition? This is a very wide debate, and I would say I don't have the answer, because there is many studies in the sports field about when we should train, and in fact there is several kind of results which are, I would say, as interesting. The results are interesting. It depends on what you want to do, in fact.
Okay, so there is no consensus about that.
I'm sorry for that. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have the magic answer.
No, they are actually, this is the magic of science. It's always a nuance. There is no magic answer. Just you were mentioning the kind of tools that you can use to actually collect data regarding sleep. Bernadette, do you use this kind of tools? What kind of tools are you using? Is it questionnaire? Is it I bought, I don't know if you can see it. I bought a watch. No,
Very
I won't
nice.
say I won't say the brand, but it's supposed to give me a lot of data regarding my sleep. But after 1 week, to be honest, the watch was saying to me that I didn't sleep well, so I stopped to wear it during the night. But I don't know if it was because actually I wasn't sleeping well, or it's just because it doesn't really work. So what do you use with the players at Rogue?
Yeah, I think this is again is one of the super interesting questions. It's funny that Tristan already mentioned the actigraphy and also already mentioned the smartwatches. Of course, right now I'm not in a position to gift all my players smartwatches to use, but this is something that some of them already have, just because they were interested and or they had an. Can I? But I can use brands, right? So some of them have Fitbits. Some of them use Apple Watches, for example, which give them the information that an actigraphy gives them, but maybe a little bit more accessible for the non-researchers under us. But then at the same time, of course, what you also mentioned, and I think this is one of the interesting things, what happens when you get information, is okay, so now you have a lot of information, but what do you actually do with that information? And the second part is, okay, now I'm noticing that after a week of tracking my sleep, I feel like I'm sleeping worse. And usually, and this is based on experience, is because you are getting more aware and you're getting more into this data, you also try a little bit harder maybe to sleep better. And we all know in video games and in the games we play, when we try harder and we try our best, of course, sometimes that works. But when we try too hard, it's not working at all. And it's actually making it worse. Our performance gets worse, but this also happens with our sleep. When we wake up in the night, suddenly, and we try to get back to sleep and we try really hard, it simply doesn't work. But also to answer also the question of, okay, what do I use? I also I'm a bit old-fashioned in that way. I like pen and paper. Usually players don't really like filling out questionnaires and stuff because it's very much research. It's about data. But when they can basically answer short questions about, okay, how long did you sleep, or what time did you get to bed? What time did you wake up? How did you feel? Did you feel rested at all? Those are the type of questions that I would ask them for sure. It gives a lot of insight.
Yeah. Okay. Sylvain, we were actually, I just mentioned that I didn't sleep well, but how do we actually evaluate the quality of the sleep? What is the quality of the sleep? Because there are different phases in the sleep, and but is it the only indicators of the quality of the sleep? How can we do for that?
So that's actually quite a fascinating question that we can study for in the lab in some sleep laboratories, like we had at the University of Caen, where we first met with Tristan a couple of years ago. So basically, we have a chronobiology team doing this sleep research. So we have different indicators. If we talk about subjective indicators, so Bernadette just talked about questionnaires. So they are kind of already validated questionnaires. I can think, for example, of the Pittsburgh questionnaire. Then you fill out, I think, depending on the version, 30 to 40 items, and then you get on different levels your subjective sleep quality. But it's still subjective. So if we want to go to the objective sleep quality, we can use some EEG system to to measure what's called the polysomnography, and then we can recheck your sleep architecture to see how much time you spend in different phases and the quality of your different phases. And the way I did it in my own research was to, I didn't want the participants to stay into a sleep lab. I wanted them to sleep at home, but then it's always a challenge with the devices to use. And we decided to use some electrocardiography measurement, meaning that we were equipping the participants, we're giving the participants some ECG devices to measure the heartbeat and specifically the heart rate variability, which is a calculation that we do from heart rates that gives us the functioning, an idea of the functioning of the parasympathetic nervous system. So of the branch of the autonomic nervous system that is responsible for rest and digest. And we know that when you sleep, you activate this branch. So this is the dominant branch in your body. And thanks to ECG measurement, we can quantify the activation of your parasympathetic nervous system during the night. It varies a bit during the phases, but if we take overall, we would estimate that overall higher parasympathetic activity means that you are resting better. And I can shortly then introduce a study if you like. I think I have 2-3 slides on the topic.
Sure, please, Sylvain. I know it was my next question, because I know that you are working on the slow breathing. So is slow breathing can help actually about all these aspects. So if you have some slides, please do not hesitate to share the slide with us.
Perfect. So basically what I'm working on is the deep breathing, but it goes a bit further than the deep breathing. We are going, I'm going to go fast on this, but there were recently meta-analysis showing all the mental and physical health benefits from some colleagues in the US. So you will see, I'm not going to go into detail of all of them, but you see the upper one is improved sleep quality, basically. And what we can say, I want to show you what this exercise looks like. And actually, we can all do it together if you like at home. So I'm going to start this animation. This is a regulatory pacer. So basically, what we can do with it is to control the duration of the inhalation phase and of the exhalation phase. What we are going to do is when the little ball is going up, we are going to inhale. And when the little ball is going down, we are going to exhale. So we can start at the next cycles, and let's start to inhale right now. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. You continue to do it. I'm telling you a couple of details now. So basically, we inhale via the nose because it has some properties, good properties for the air, and it also helps you to activate some emotional network in your brain that are linked to stress and emotion regulation. So it will have indirectly this influence on sleep. And then we will exhale via the mouth to control the flow of air. So this is the basic exercise that I do with my athletes. What are the positive consequences when you do it as a sleeping routine? Because this is the issue. So as Bernadette mentioned, sometimes they go to bed very late, and yeah, when you go to bed very late, sometimes you're not fully tired or you don't find sleep. So you have a sleep onset duration that can be long. And this exercise actually was shown to reduce sleep duration. So I'm going to introduce the study that we did on the topic. I could introduce the app at some other point. But basically, the study I'm referring to, I can go into detail afterwards if you're interested in the mechanisms. But what we want to illustrate, I'm sorry, I don't have a way to speed up the, perhaps this one. I can just, all right. This was quite a revelating study for me. Why? So in this study, we wanted to check what was the effect of doing this slow-paced breathing technique in comparison to do something that almost every player, and not only players do, almost every person does, being on social media in the evening. So it was 15 minutes. We got an experimental group of 15 minutes doing the breathing exercise. And the control group had to do 15 minutes of social media, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, you name them. And they had to do it for 30 days. We measured the heart during the night at home. So they were sleeping at home in their usual bed. So no change regarding the usual sleep condition. And we compared the sleep quality before and after 30 days. And what we found was that after 30 days, the group doing the slow-paced breathing had an improvement of the first subjective sleep quality. So it was with the Pittsburgh questionnaire. So basically, subjectively, they were feeling, oh, I'm sleeping better. It's a bit a shortcut, but more or less that's what we got from the information. And then at the level of the heart measurement, we found a higher parasympathetic activity during the night. What does it mean concretely? It means that we introduced a switch in the body, a switch toward an improved rest and digest function, meaning that they were recovering also with their body better. And when you think about it, it's just a simple routine. It takes 15 minutes. We did at least 15 minutes. Perhaps you can do more and expect even more benefits. So this is still something we would have to test. But at least we showed that with 15 minutes, then it had those positive consequences for the athletes at the sleep level. And when you know that the parasympathetic nervous system for athletes plays a big role in recovery and in training preparation, so then it means that if you arrive at training with a higher parasympathetic nervous activity, you will be more able to take high load of training on you. Again, it's a bit a shortcut, but just for you to understand the story behind it. So it's something that is a desirable target, and we can achieve it via this practice for slow-paced breathing. And perhaps just, I will just finish before you ask the question, that about the long-term effect that we can expect. And actually, we can't expect long-term effects, meaning that we also try to stop and then to check, okay, 1, 2, 3 months later, do we still have something? No. So it's really like also sport training. As long as you train, it will have an effect. But if you stop to train, then the effects will slowly disappear.
Actually, really great research. I was wondering how actually invasive is all the material that you have to wear during the night to actually collect the data. Is it very invasive, or is it cool? How do you do that?
So basically, we are talking about a very little device that weighs 13 grams, as big as this, and then only with 2 or 3 electrodes on your upper body. This means that, yeah, at the beginning, of course, you notice it, but then you quickly forget it because it really weighs nothing, so 13 grams. And you can also, I always get asked, okay, can you sleep on your stomach? And yes, so you can sleep in the direction that you want, in the position that you want. It will not, so you will forget it basically.
Okay, I have a question in the chat, and I'm not a specialist because I will try to make it the more clear that I can. From Intensity, and he's asking actually, should it be a diaphragmatic breathing when you are practicing slow-paced breathing? I don't know, to be honest, what is a diaphragmatic breathing. So if you can just give us some insight about that.
I will actually make a demonstration. So if I can stand up like this. So the diaphragm is like a muscle that will actually go down when you inhale. And what we want when we do the breathing is that actually the chest will not move. I don't need to activate my chest to do this relaxation breathing. I will just take care that my belly is getting bigger when I inhale and then thinner when I exhale. And when you do it like this, you create the most optimal pressure functioning for your lungs. So that means that the air will really nicely flow in and then flow out when you exhale. So it's to optimize the functioning of your lungs when you do it like this, given when you do the diaphragmatic breathing. So this in the bottom part of your upper body, this will optimize the functioning of the lungs. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's amazing. Okay, I have another question. And I think it's more for Tristan or maybe for Bernadette. It's a question from Chiara Dos. Have there been polysomnography measurements with esports players? And maybe Tristan, I know that you were when I stopped you at the beginning with your slides, you were aiming to actually present a state of the art regarding sleep and esports player. Do you know if this kind of polysomnography have been done or no?
As far as I know, no, I'm really not sure, because I looked at the literature like a few days ago to check, and I saw that there was a publication like published in 2012, like few months ago, I guess, using actigraphy and the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index and other questionnaires. And maybe I missed it, but I didn't see a study using polysomnography, because polysomnography is quite hard to use, especially in elite athletes. There is, even in traditional sports, there is few studies using polysomnography, which is the gold standard to measure sleep characteristic. But it's really hard to put in place. We need a sleep lab. We need people who know you to use it. It could be quite expensive to perform. So, and yeah, so that's why. And as Bernadette say, this is one of the gap between the theory and the reality on the field, because elite athletes, maybe they don't want to do that. They don't have time to do that. Maybe sometimes they don't have time to fulfill a simple questionnaire. So going to a sleep lab, perform a polysomnography, that could be. Yeah, there is ambulatory PSGs, of course, but you need the athletes to to be okay with that, to perform a PSG at home, and it could be quite expensive. But that would be really, really interested to see with actigraphy to perform PSG in these athletes. And this is, I would say, the next quest in this field, in this area.
Just to
I'm really sorry. We'll have to say goodbye now.
Okay.
I have another meeting. I'm really sorry that all this collision of schedules today. I really enjoy being the discussion, and then I'm happy to catch up with you again at another point. Great topic, and thanks again for the invitation, Nicolas.
Yeah. Thanks to you, actually, Sylvain, and take care of yourself. Stay safe, and yeah, you're a busy guy. I know that. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Sylvain.
Okay, Bernadette, did you want to add something regarding this polysomnography? Actually, I don't know what is polysomnography. I'm really sorry, but what is it, Tristan or Bernadette? What is it?
Go ahead,
okay.
Tristan.
Yeah, so what is it? A polysomnography is a sleep measurement where you put various electrodes on your scalp, to measure the EEG, so electroencephalography, which can measure the brain activity on some region, like the central frontal occipital region, to see what are your sleep, the sleep stages. So you can see the duration of the sleep, the wake moment at night, and you also need to put other the waves, exactly, the EEG waves, and you you also need to record heart rate. You can so like Sylvain said, you can use some device to measure heart rate. You need to measure the breath characteristics, like the breathing, because polysomnography is used to detect sleep apnea, for example. You need to measure ENG, electromyography, to do the difference between the non-REM sleep and the REM sleep. So this is a really, really cumbersome, really hard to perform. It's not easy to sleep with this. Now there is more and more technological solutions to record sleep stages with less electrodes. For example, Sylvain was talking about heart rate variability. and heart rate and sympathetic resonance. There is a system right now. This is a arm wrist, and based on actigraphy and heart rate variability, it can interpret sleep stages. It has been validated, as far as I know, in the sleep laboratory in Harvard, Chuck Seisler's lab, as far as I know, because they put some comparison with the PAG. So this could be interesting in the future if we can validate it in other population.
Okay. Now I'm actually I have more knowledge than before. That's good. I appreciate. Thank you, Tristan. Actually, Bernadette, what are the main issues that you are facing with the players, and what will be the next routines or habits that you need to teach? Or I know that you are trying to educate the player, but what are the main objectives and the main points and the main elements that you are trying to actually implement with the players?
I think education first, of course. They need to know why we're doing this. They need to understand why sleep is so important, and what the effects are when they change things. So, for example, the method that we just practiced with Sylvain, actually, the slow-paced breathing, is a technique that I try to teach all of my players. At least that they have it available in their toolkit, let's call it that, and use it as a strategy to relax, wind down at the end of the day. But this is also a strategy that you could implement before competitions, for example. So it's a bit of what kind of goal you're trying to achieve with this exercise. If you want to kind of control more your stresses in your body before competition, or if you really try to relax and try to get rest and get into a sleeping stage. So also, of course, like I offer them tools like meditation. We use apps, for example. I think some very well-known apps that probably everyone has heard of by now are Headspace, for example. Synctuition is also something that is used often and very accessible. And yeah, of course, I like to have my players understand also the effects of what they do during their days and what they consume. Think about, for example, how many coffees do you drink a day, or how many energy drinks do you drink a day, do affect the quality of your sleep. And especially when you drink that in specific amounts, it will have an effect on you. Myself, I have been a coffee drinker for years. And I was always the first one to say, I do not get affected by coffee at all. Let me drink the coffee at 8 p.m. My sleeping schedule is a bit earlier than my players, of course, but I have noticed the differences when I have lowered down my caffeine intake. So things like that are definitely strategies that I try to help them with.
I'm a little bit naive, but the players are really young. They are really drinking a lot of coffee, because when you are young, coffee, you don't really like it. They're drinking coffee.
Yeah, so my players are let's say early 20s. So a couple of them drink coffee, they like it, but others like energy drinks a little bit more. So of course, this is always the joke in the team as well. When they're drinking energy drinks, they mention it, but they also know that I'm listening. So yeah, they know that I am a bit opposed it, but of course, like when everything is in moderation, and when you use it in a way that is beneficial for you, because not everyone, literally everyone is different. So what works for one individual in the team does not necessarily mean that everyone should do it like this. So that makes my job also super interesting, to figure out what works for everyone and for their personal.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What I really appreciate in what you are trying to do with the players is the fact that all the tools that you are mentioning are really accessible. When I'm listening to you, I'm like, but I could do it. I don't need that much. I have a smartphone, so I have applications. I have my new watch, and actually, it can help me to make the slow paced breathing. I have this kind of stuff on my watch, but I never use it. So maybe I will. So
yeah, try it out.
Yeah, maybe. But this is what I find really amazing, is the fact that it's quite accessible to change some habits. So That's really cool. I have a question, but I'm not sure that you have the answers, both of you. But there are a lot of worries regarding the screen light and sleep habits. And without speaking about the blue light, or maybe we have to speak about the blue light, I don't know, but the screen light generally, is it impacting the sleep, or what? Do you know actually what is the state of the art in the scientific field? And also, do you, for you, Bernadette, when you are actually trying to educate the players, is it something that you are speaking about with the players? For example, to stop playing 20, maybe 30 minutes before, going to bed, or starting to try to sleep?
Yeah, I think Tristan will be the one who can explain us exactly how blue light works, or kind of the theoretical background in it. But when I talk about blue light with my players, of course, like it feels like it's almost a trendy topic by now, that everyone has a blue light filter on their phones and on their computers. Some use blue light filter glasses, of course, as well. As far as I know, I don't think my players are using blue light blockers, also because it changes a little bit the color of the game and these type of things. I like they like to have things very similar to what they know. However, I do educate them on make sure to have a moment and create a bedtime routine. Just like you start your day in probably the same way every single day, you can also do that when you go to bed. Do it in the same manner. Maybe some take a shower, some brush their teeth and read a book when they go to bed. But there needs to be a time where you basically tell your body and your brain, okay, now it's time to sleep, and now it's the time to relax. And of course, when we think of, okay, some of us will recognize this when we step into bed, our brain switches on and we start thinking about all the things we said today and we should be doing tomorrow. These are things that happen to players as well. So when that happens and you know that this is a common occurrence, I always recommend them to have a little notepad beside their bed and just write down all your notes. Write down your thoughts on a notepad. Get them out of your head so you don't have to actively remember them. And don't do it on your phone, because then again, you have your phone in your hand, and how tempting is it then to click on Twitter and start scrolling again?
It's so me. I'm not an esports athlete, but when you are speaking, it's just me, actually. So there is a question from Ismail, and actually it's a question, but the chat is quite animated and people are trying to give a lot of information. But so Ismail28 is asking, what would be the most reliable and accessible tools that can be implemented with players to assess and measure sleep? For example, Fitbits, as you said, Whoops. I don't know what is Whoops. It's a brand of watch. It's a kind of a smartwatch. I don't know. And actually, Atreides was answering. I think that the Pittsburgh questionnaire and the sleep diaries are very important, but above all, to work on improving the quality of sleep through professionals such as cognitive behavioral therapy. Mm-hmm. So what is your thought about that? Because I'm not sure, is it the same cognitive behavioral therapy than maybe educational therapy? Or, I don't know, but the fact to change behavior, this is a real change habits, change behavior. This is something very important. So what do you think about that? What are the main tools for someone who is not in a professional team or who wants to work with a grassroots team? What will be the best, and how we can change habits?
I think probably the absolute most accessible thing to do is to use something like a Pittsburgh questionnaire, or not even like, just start monitoring, start getting an awareness of what your sleep looks like. How do you feel? Do you have the same routines? Do you go to bed at the same time every day, or is that fluctuating a lot? because when you can control and get that routine consistent, waking up at the same time and going to bed around at the same time, and of course we are talking about ranges, right? And we don't at 22:30 you exactly go to bed, but when you can make that in a range, I think that is very beneficial. In terms of technology, I think it all depends on how you can use the data, because when you get a lot of data and you get a lot of information, you can collect all of it. But if you then not do something with that information, then I think it's maybe a waste of money, to be really honest with you, but also a waste of resources. So definitely look into how you can use that data. What are you going to do with that? And yeah, I think Fitbit is very user friendly. And Whoop is a type of fitness band that you can, it's not a watch, it's a band that measures specific components, just like a heart rate. It gives you also a measurement of heart rate variability. It tracks, for example, also calories when you do workouts and stuff. So I think it's super interesting to look into. And if that is something that you can be using, then yeah, of course, I would be happy to have such a band myself as well.
Okay.
Yeah, this response was really interesting about the cognitive behavioral therapy, because among the recommendations we can make, to help people to sleep better, to sleep well. Okay, practice physical activity regularly is one of them, but we know for the moment that cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the most, maybe the most non-pharmacological, approach to help sleep, especially to improve insomnia disorders, because insomnia is the most reported sleep complaints in various populations, from, I would say, non-pathological and in pathological. So insomnia is the most reported, and CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, is one of the maybe the most non-pharmacological approach. But this is again, I would say, the gap between the theory and what we can do in the field, because of course we know that sleep restrictions and sleep deprivations mainly impact cognitive and performance, motor performance. Like, there is a lot of people showing that when you're sleep deprived, or in animals sleep deprived, you have an increased reaction time, poor making decisions, decreased vigilance, you have dysfunctional emotions, like you tended to have, like, I would say, like the bad emotion, the to be more nervous. I'm sorry, I can't find the word in English, but and I think so. It would be very interesting in some athletes that to use that kind of approach. But I would say that the athlete needs to, let's say that, like, as Bernadette say, it should be useful, or it's a waste of time. So if the athlete needs it, he feels he needs to improve his sleep because it is something who creates problems. Yeah, but we see he has problems in his life, his like quality of life. If he sees that he cannot perform well, so he wants to, okay, I need to do something with my sleep. I can't do that alone. I need to go. So maybe that kind of approach with professionals, of course, but with professionals of this, you need to go through professionals. That it could be a very good idea.
Yeah, this is not the first time that you are mentioning that the accessibility to actually high-level esports player is not easy, and this is the same in sports. Actually, if you want to work with the highest level sports athletes, I don't know, I'm in France, so if I want to work with, I don't know, the French team of basketball, I'm a basketball player, of course they are not accessible to me. So, and when researchers need to have data or collect data with this kind of population, it's very difficult because they are not, their schedule is very busy, and if they accept, of course, to be part of a protocol, they want this protocol to be useful for them. Because if you want to make a real protocol with a group control and an experimental group, nobody wants to be part of the group control, of course, because they won't have the benefits of the study. So it's the same for esports player. When you want to make research with the high level esports athletes, they don't have the time, and if they accept to be part of a protocol, they want to be sure that it will be useful for their training, for their performance, for their health, and they don't want to be part of the group control, actually. This is it. I have a question, not a last question, but from the chat. Let me check. It's a question from HHH72-190. Are there some elements that make one chronotype either more efficient or more appropriated to esports players than another? Have you met something? Is there some trends that you have observed? For example, Bernadette, and you say, for example, you have observed that in the Rainbow Six team, there are two players that are very, very well performing, and wow, they have the same kind of chronotype. Maybe it could be a correlation. Did you observe something like that?
I think based on my education and research, that's quite a dangerous statement to make. If I would do that without any data to back it up, but I don't think it's so easy to say. I think performance is in performance. There's so many factors that go into that. Then just looking at the chronotype, I don't think it will be very meaningful. So I think looking into, okay, how can we, for example, improve their sleep quality, will help them more, and is more sustainable also in looking at the time frame, and educate them or teach them something that they can use in the rest of their lives will help them more than trying to find what is kind of, let's say, this is the type of chronotype that you would have and that might predict performance. I don't think that would work like that.
Now, this is a really interesting question, because I would answer by another questions. Are we attracted by some activities because we have these chronotypes, so we are attracted by these activities? Mm-hmm. You know, there was a research in traditional sports field showing that I already said that I guess you know, that people doing endurance races, long races, seems that there is more people being in the morning, and they are more efficient in these kind of races. So the question is, are they more efficient because they are morning people, or just because many of these races starts in the morning? You know, so this is maybe just a coincidence, because if these races would start in the evening, maybe they won't be as efficient as if it starts in the morning. And I'm not sure we should, you know, think like, okay, I'm an evening person, so I should do maybe this or this kind of activity. Oh no, I'm a morning person, so I should do. In fact, for the moment, in the literature, in the few studies we have, what we just like Bernadette said, we are doing monitoring. So we are checking, okay, this guy, this girl, these people, they are mainly evening chronotypes. Why? Because maybe this is in their genes. It's like that. So we know that they are evening chronotypes. So we need to adapt their sleep routines based on their preferences, and knowing that they are evening, moderately evening, extreme evening chronotype, we can help them to better adjust their sleep habits to perform, to better perform, and to, I would say, to feel better in their daily, every day, I would say.
Thank you very much. We are actually close to the end of the symposium. I have one last question, and I'm not sure that we have the answer, as usual. Is there any difference between the sleeping habits depending on the game, actually? Bernadette, as you are part of Rogue, but I know that you are only working with Rainbow Six, or maybe you are not only working with Rainbow Six, but you see, because Rogue is a multi-esports organization, maybe you are chatting a lot with the other people from the other esports competitive scenes, esports competitive games. Have you seen any differences, or are there any trends regarding that?
Yeah, I think just based on the players that we have at the moment, I think on average, the Rainbow Six players go to bed and get up a little bit later than our League of Legends players. And that will not differ so much, but it does differ. But I also think that this probably is because we have, in the Rainbow Six, we have later scrims. So sometimes our scrims go until 9, sometimes 10 o'clock at night. And then we have the same conversation of, okay, the brain is super active. These guys don't go to bed at 10, and when they just finish practice, they will want to eat something. They want to maybe go to the gym actually, and then start winding down. So I think their days just start a little bit earlier for the League of Legends players. And that's why we see a little bit of a shift in scheduling.
Yeah. So I'm not, in the field of esport, but when I was doing my research about like habits, I was like asking or listening to VOD, not VOD, like vlog. I remember that soon when he was an Overwatch player for Paris Eternal, in his vlog during the World Cup, he was saying that they train, like end of training around 10 p.m. or sometimes they're doing a VOD review after. But the coach Wrath was trying to, not going too late, for the training to let the player recover and going to sleep. And I think, I don't know if it was there, but maybe it depends of the level, because in the elite, in the top, maybe there is more monitoring and coaches, managers also trying to, check and help the players. But in the lowest levels, like tier 2, tier 3, I remember I talked one day with a Contenders team of an Overwatch team in Contenders, and he was saying to me that sometimes he was doing screams from 9 p.m. to more than midnight because it was fitting with the time of the official game. And I was like, wow, after midnight, that's quite late. So yeah, I don't know if my feeling is right, Bernadette. Like maybe there is a difference according to the level of the team.
I don't have too much experience with some lower tier teams, so I don't know how they regulate that. However, of course, in the level that we are working with, we do have not just the players who are interested in their well-being, right? So it's exactly what you say. There's a manager. There's more people involved who try to help them get this part of their lives on track. And there are people who start asking questions when they show up very tired, for example. So I think that will definitely help. And of course, also for the scrims, for example, we need scrim partners. So we cannot be the only team who likes to scrim earlier in the day because we.
Regarding this point, I remember that like 2 years ago when Casper Witt and Lars Robel arrived in Astralis for the CSGO team in Astralis, they were the first to actually impose to change the scrims times. And at the beginning, they were actually they mentioned it at the beginning. The other team were like, no, we won't change for you. But as Astralis was one of the best team, actually, weeks after weeks, there were more and more teams, CSGO teams, saying, okay, we will adapt to actually have your scream at your time, actually. So if you prefer to make it earlier in the day, okay, we will do that. So sometimes you can change. But yeah, what I listen from all this symposium and all that you have said is the fact that there is a need actually in the literature. There is a need to pursue a lot of research regarding sleep habits and esports players, regarding the games, regarding the level of practice, regarding the tools, the dispositives that you are implementing, and the impact and the effect of these tools on the actually the sleep quality of these players. So it's a wide field that is open to all the researchers around the world and to address this topic. And I'm sure that in the next years we will see a lot of studies regarding sleep and esports. I'm quite sure about that. We are actually at the end of the symposium. I really want to thank both of you, Bernadette and Tristan, and thanks also Sylvain, who jump in and jump out of the symposium very fast, but he was very accurate in his answers. And I really want also to thank all the viewers on Twitch and on YouTube, because they have been, actually, as I said, the chat was really involved in your conversation and jumping on all the different intervention that you did. So really thanks to all the viewers. It was really cool to have this conversation with you. I think that we managed to address actually all the topics regarding sleep, and I just can say that I hope to see you carry on what you are doing, Bernadette, with Rogue and with a lot of many other players during a lot of years, because I think it's really fantastic. And Tristan, I really hope that next year you will be able to conduct studies and to bring all your expertise in sports to esports. I think it will be a very added value to the industry and to this ecosystem. So thanks to you.
Thank you so much, Nicolas, for having us and having a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, that was cool, really. Thanks to you, to the both of you. And just to let you know, for the viewers, next session will be the last panel of the day. It will be the panel dedicated to physical injuries in esports, with a great stage. Actually, Lindsay Migliori, Dr. Caitlin McGee, Jake Lyon from Overwatch team Houston Outlaws, all of that moderated by Dr. Third Jenny. Please don't miss this panel. It will be a banger. I can assure you it will be fantastic. So in 30 minutes, last panel of the day. And if you want, there are still some sessions that are not finished yet on the different YouTube channels. So please do not hesitate to jump from a channel to another one. And yeah, see you there. Thanks to you, Bernadette, Tristan.
See you.
Bye-bye.